Hello everybody, today I'm making a video on how to change the ignition switch on a 1996 Pontiac Sunfire. And the first step that you're going to do is disconnect the negative battery cable, and being a side post battery you'll use an 8mm wrench. So now that you've done that, you're going to come over here to the front. This is the part that goes around the steering wheel up here, but as you can see I've already removed it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab right here with your left hand and over here with your right, and you're just going to push in and pull up, and that's going to release this from the bottom half. The bottom half, looking downwards in the upward direction, you're going to see these screws here, and these can be removed with your standard sockets sizes. I'm not sure what size this one was because I used the Torx, but you can go ahead and get a set of Torx like these and you'll be able to get a hold of it. And the size looks like it's probably a T25, which is going to be, well, let's see, the T25, yes, the T25 will work. So use your T25 upwards. You're going to need a little extension, not too big. And you're going to disconnect. See, the three locations are these holes. So one being here, here, and here. So three. So once you take those screws out, the bottom will just fall out. You can take those off. Next step you're going to do, coming over here to the side on the left, you're going to need either a really small gadget like this one to ratchet on a 1/4 inch drive type things, or you're going to need some type of flexible extension or a U-joint, because you're going to need to remove the two little screws that go right here, one here and one up here. You're going to need this E4. It's the female version to remove these screws right here. So you're going to need the E4, which is the female version of the Torx. Turning it over, you'll see the female version. See, so it's very tiny. You're not going to be able to get at it with something bigger than an E4. So the E4 will fit these little screws, and once you remove those two screws, your ignition switch will come out. This is an old one. Now, looking at the old ignition switch, you're going to note the orientation of the little square in there. See, so first you're going to have to disconnect. There's going to be one here, it's going to be white, and another over here is going to be black. You'll just get a screwdriver and you can just push underneath there and release it from the connection, the wiring. And then you'll note the orientation of this and put your new ignition switch in the orientation of this one. So go left or right. You can hear it click and you can count the clicks. So plug in the new ignition switch and make sure that the two things go in, one here and then one here, and then screw it back in here using the E4 socket. And once you get it screwed in, what you can do is you can hold this in place with your hand before you screw it in to see if it was in fact your ignition switch. And first you have to plug in the battery negative cable so you'll have power again. And once you hold this in place, you can start the engine. We already started this one, so we know the ignition switch was the problem. So if you want to find out if the ignition switch or the starter is a problem, you need to check for 12 volts at the solenoid wire when somebody cranks the engine. So have somebody crank the engine and they get 12 volts to the solenoid wire when they're cranking the engine, then that means the starter solenoid is getting the ignition switch's signal, which means your ignition switch is good. So I've had experience before where sometimes I didn't get 12 volts and it was the starter solenoid. So it tends to be a little bit weird and it's not a completely reliable test. But if you do get 12 volts at the solenoid wire, you can assume that when somebody's cranking it, if you're getting 12 volts, that the ignition switch is good. But in this case, we didn't get that. So that meant it could either be the starter solenoid or the ignition switch. Thank you for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and have a great day.